Tell me who you are.
Greetings. My name is Orrin Hedden. I am the chief instructor and owner here at the Warrior Institute of Chicago, located at 1841 West 95th Street in the Beverly area here in Chicago on the south side.
Okay. So can you tell me more about this Beverly area?
The Beverly area is one of the more affluent areas here on the south side of Chicago. It's a big racial kind of mixing pot. So there's some of everybody here. It's a middle to upper income area. There's a lot of restaurants, there's libraries, a lot of different cultural things around this particular area. Several parks, some of the highest ranking schools for the city of Chicago are all in this area. I was actually born in this area. Well, I was born over in the South Shore area, but we moved over to the Beverly area around the age of around 6 or 7, and so I actually went to a grammar school around here, and I went to high school around here, and then after college, I came back to this same exact area and opened up my school here in the same area. So I'm very familiar with all the people around, the aldermen, all the businesses. All the parks, all of the landmarks, and it's really been a pleasure to be able to come back to the community that I grew up taking so much from, to end up coming back to that area, opening up a business and helping children and giving back to the same area that I grew up in. So,
Okay. When you say you're taking so much from, what does that mean?
Just able to benefit from learning from all the various cultures here. My mother, Dr. Nadine Hedden, used to teach at Sutherland School, which is literally about 5 blocks from the school. So, and then I went to Clissold over on 110th and Western, which is like 5 or 6 blocks further southwest from here. So I grew up, I remember my math teacher lived in the next block over. So it was really a community. If I messed up at school, my teacher didn't just send a note home, they would come and actually knock on the door and actually have a conversation with my parents. So when I say take from, I just meant take from the learn or gain, grow. They were the water that I watered my garden with that gave me that substance to grow from.
Okay. Yeah, so when me and my fiance were on our way over here, we was at this hotel in downtown and told the guy, I think he was just like he was holding our door for us or something like that. And we was like, yeah, man, we're coming down to this area. Can you tell me about it? Cause I got I'm chilling, you know what I mean? But I got my girl with me and, I want her to have a moment. And she's like, baby, I don't feel safe. So I asked the guy and he's like, he put it to where he if you want to go down there, man, you can. Like he made it seem like kind of weird, and then I talked to the dude at the front desk and I told him what I do. I like to travel around, I interview, and he was like, oh, well, thank you for your service. But the way he said it, they making it, I don't know, it seemed like they was trying to like trip me out or something like that, to make it seem like it was a little bit worse than what it is. But coming here, it's beautiful over here, man. Like it's.
Yeah, I travel a lot as well, and whenever I tell somebody I'm from Chicago, there's always this
perception.
People have this perception of it, but Chicago is a very segregated city. And there's very few communities that there's a nice racial mixture. Beverly is one of those areas, but it's still a middle to middle high income area. The average household income is around 200,000 around here. That's not to say that there's no violence, but there's violence everywhere that we go in the U.S. But this is not one of, people think that when you think of violence in Chicago, you think South Side, you think West Side.
Yeah.
This is the South Side, but there are areas in the South Side, like if you go to the Hyde Park area, there are a lot of businesses. There's a Hyatt Hotel, Hilton.
They talk about the Hyde
Park. They have multi-million-dollar facilities going up in those areas, just like they have here in Beverly. But you definitely, as martial artists, we know that we never let our guard down, no matter where we are. But it's just a different type of criminal here than you may see anywhere else. But there's probably more physical violence. But that's not to say that if you go to a high-income area, they're robbing people too. They're just doing it with contracts, and they're making it business.
No difference.
But it's still a stick-up is a stick-up.
Right.
And but we've been here. This is our 20th year in business, and we are currently one of the largest African American owned schools in this area, and one of the largest as far as populations. And we did that right here in this Beverly area. Our students have been supportive. The community here has been backing us the entire way, and it's a pleasure for us to operate in this Beverly area. And I enjoy it here. Anybody that has something negative to say about it hasn't been here. I'd question whether you've actually come to this block. I'm not saying that it's safe, that's the case for everywhere in Chicago,
for sure.
But right here, man, the doors are open. As you've been here for hours, there was no riffraff coming in. There's nothing that should alarm you anywhere than anywhere else in the world, you know.
Okay. What is College Grove? I keep hearing about. Is it College Grove? College Grove or?
College Grove is in Atlanta.
No, okay, it's not that. It's somebody said something about it's like somewhere around here. And he said College Grove.
Cottage Grove.
Cottage Grove.
Cottage Grove is a street. It's far more east from here. That's nowhere near us. That's probably if you take this 95th Street, you would probably have to drive 20 to 30 minutes in order to get to Cottage Grove.
Oh, so he was just trying to trip me out, huh? Trip me and my girl.
I don't know what address that you told him you was coming to. If you tell somebody that you're coming to the South Side, if you don't say what side of the South Side, then they'll kind of tell you, you know. But the Cottage Grove is over there by King Drive, and it's further east. That would be more of it's a middle to lower income area over that way, but that's not where the school is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Nice, man. So before I get into these questions I really want to ask you, I want you to tell me a little bit more about yourself. Maybe like your upbringing. How was it? You know, was you ever around that negative energy? And how did you get into martial arts? If you've never been around stuff and, you know, stuff like that, then that's cool too. But
I probably don't have the typical background that you see from fighters or people that fight, that grew up fighting that their whole life and they grew up in the streets or in the hood in those areas. I came from two of the most loving parents that a boy could ever want. My mother, Dr. Nadine Hedden, was a principal, a school teacher, science teacher, and also an administrator with CPS. She also worked with Trinity Church and Christ on starting a charter school as well. So she dedicated her life to helping people, to helping children, and she had a couple of master's degrees and also got her doctorate degree as well. My father, Philip Hedden, was in the Army. He served in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Came back, he graduated, got his accounting degree, and then became a U.S. Marshal for several years, and and then after that became a United States Postal Service postal inspector, investigating mail fraud, and he did that until he retired in his early 50s. My parents, I went to private schools my entire life. For grammar school, I graduated from St. Barnabas here in the Beverly area that we spoke about, which is literally like 5 blocks from my martial arts school. And then for high school, I graduated. I also went to a private high school, Luther High School South, which is about 10 or 15 minutes northwest of the school, still in this area. And then I attended college at Eastern Illinois University. So my upbringing was one of love, I experienced everything. We traveled a lot. I had tutors, not because I was failing anything, but just because academics was important in our household. How I got into martial arts, my father did martial arts, and because he was also a military dad, so the structure and the discipline was in the house, and we learned martial arts because it was important that we learn how to defend ourselves, how to defend the family, and how to be good husbands and fathers as we got older. So the philosophy for me learning martial arts was not one out of hardship, but I like to say built out of love, built out of discipline, and 2 parents that had a plan for all their children. So I have an older brother, then I have a younger brother. All of us took martial arts. I was the only one that kind of stuck with it after I turned 18. But all of us had to learn how to fight, how to defend ourselves, had to have that discipline, had to have that drive. My oldest brother I think he has 2 master's degrees and also went on to become a doctor as well. So it was just kind of engraved in our upbringing, and that's my story, man. I don't have a story of lacking anything. It was total love, and I tried to provide that same thing to my daughter. I do have a daughter as well. She travels. She's went to private schools her whole life, and we just are trying to continue that legacy of excellence and building upon it with each generation.
Okay, cool. Yes, I can definitely tell that you had some type of training or some type of exactly like a parent or something like that, because of the way that you teach your class.
Thank you.
It's not only educational, but it's very militant. You know what I mean? Almost like a strict dad. You know, and I mean, I feel like that's what kids need. You know,
yes, sir.
Especially, I mean, I don't know too much about your children here in your class, but it seems like that's something that they desperately need, you know?
Yeah, you know, we have a very diverse student body, and I do teach adults and as well as seniors. Mm-hmm. But for our children, because of this Beverly area, it's kind of a mixture. So I have children that have come from 2-parent households. I have parents that don't come from a traditional structured household, but their dad is still in their lives. And then I have children that haven't seen their father or haven't seen their mother. It cuts both ways. And then I also have children that need a little extra love and attention, either because of whatever that they're going on emotionally, kind of processing it. And then also some of them may have a learning disability or are on the spectrum. So every child needs something different. Those that need that tough love and that kick in the rear end that I'm here to get at, and those that need a hug and a high five and some words of encouragement, then we're here for that too. My philosophy is, if you need to cry, cry, but we're gonna cry while we getting this work, while we're pushing ourselves. Ain't nothing wrong with feeling down or in the moment. I think in life, it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it.
Right.
Because all of us are going through hardships, we're going through different things. We've all been rich, we've been broke, we've been not so rich, we've been not knowing how we're gonna eat the next day. But if you learn, if you are able to adapt I'm not gonna quit, I'm not gonna fail, this is not going to define me type of mindset, then I think that's what all of our student needs, from our kids to our adults. Like, a lot of people leave the adults out as if they're not going through their own stress, their own traumas, their own mountains that they gotta climb. And a lot of times that stress is breaking adults just like it breaks kids, man. And for our adult class, this is a way for them to relieve stress. Also, even for our adults, we need to be around successful other people, because we get pushed, whether you saying it or not saying it. If you around all millionaires, you picking up because you're learning how they think, how they move, how they walk, how they talk. And it's the same way with the martial artists, even with fighters. If you want to be a great fighter and you go to a school that they don't fight and ain't nobody pushing nobody, well, how good are you gonna be if you at that school? And it's the same thing with all of your in environments. So my goal here is to provide an environment where we can push a variety of people that need a variety of things. Right. So are we the toughest, hardest school where we fighting every day, everybody walk out here with a bloody nose? No. But my goal is are you equipped to survive out in these streets, meaning a physical altercation, meaning an emotional battle, a spiritual battle? Are you able to conquer what's going on at work? Can you navigate through the politics of a job, through life? Like, these are the things that I think that children need, adults need, that our culture needs, that our race needs, is, because everything is not going to be a physical combat. And in martial arts, we can use that to release that stress, to help to deal with our emotions, with our trauma. But we can't let that trauma drive us, because you're gonna end up in jail or putting yourself in a situation that's gonna make yourself, that's gonna make life harder than it needs to be. Yeah. So that's what I try to do here. That's our goal, and I've been at it for 20 plus years. So yeah, trying to get better every single day at it.
Okay, in your open opinion, what do you think is actually, like, what's wrong? Why is there so much? I mean, we could talk about the world, but specifically, I just want to stick on Chicago. What do you think spiritually or mentally or whatever is going on with the government? What do you think is going on that's creating all this negative energy here, like, that's making just people do the things that they do? Well, evilness. I guess I'm not finding the right words, but
I understand the basis of your question. I don't think that there's a simple answer to that. Right. I think what's going on in Chicago, I think, is indicative with what's going on in the world, in every major U.S. city. Yeah. I know that some of the principles that this country was founded upon, we're still having that trickle down effect that we have now. When you build something on stolen land that you take from another culture, then claim it for yourselves, and then use various races as your workforce to develop that, and then cut them out, and then build your government system on those same principles that validated you taking somebody's land from them, and then you build your religious concepts around something that accepts that type of behavior, then I don't know what you expect the society that's supposed to grow from that, how you expect it to flourish. I think, and I know that throughout this city and throughout this world, I've met a lot of good people. But I haven't met enough good people that are willing to do the work needed to change the system that they may benefit from. So I'm not somebody that thinks, all one race is bad and these people, but certain people are benefiting from the history of this country, and and then others are not doing enough to change the trajectory of their life, despite what the history is. I think speaking for blacks in general, or minorities, which I don't necessarily like that term because there's more people of color in this country than it is non. But I think the time for using the history as a crutch is over, and it's time for us to just not look for the government or organizations or somebody else to come save us. I think that we have everything that we need to empower ourselves to live to our highest potential. I think we got to work together, and I think we got to get rid of the excuses. Some of them are valid, but at the end of the day, an excuse is an excuse. They can make it hard for us, but they can't stop us. And I think if more people adopted that mentality, it would do some good. It's not going to turn around in one generation, but if I can do my part to make my generation better, and then the next generation can do better, then in 3-4 generations, I mean, this country has been like this for almost 500 years, so we're not going to turn it around in five or 10 years, but I can do my part to make my generation better.
What steps do you feel like you think first of all, I'm gonna say this, man. I was gonna head there, but you got there, and I appreciate it because I didn't know how I was gonna head there. I don't usually talk about this in my interview. You're like the first person that I was like, bro, I think I just want to start talking about some real SHIT. You know what I'm saying? Like my interviews are about just health and stuff like this, but like there's too much going on in this world to just be talking about that. Like there's some real stuff going on. We living in some real times.
Absolutely.
Some real times, and the things that was talked about what's going to happen. Like we're living in the future of a prophecy. You know what I'm saying? Like we're living in those times, and I'm just glad you touched upon it. Why do you feel like people are not doing nothing? I have my answers for that, but
I think that's also. There are no easy answers. There are no quick answers. I think everybody has a different story. I don't think if we're speaking about minorities in particular, we're not all these are same. Like I have a very different background. I don't have a background that I didn't know my father, or I grew up in poverty. Like that's not me. But those people have a story that I don't know that I would do it justice to try to tell it because I didn't live it. I understand it because I see them. I have friends that come from that. But until you walk a mile in their shoes, until you've been homeless and waking up in a car with no heat, what I look like trying to tell that story. But I find that in if I was to generalize things, I think we have to, as black folks, one, I acknowledge that we are victims. Some may even say prisoners of war. But that doesn't mean that we're helpless. That doesn't mean we can't build. We have built as descendants of Africans. We have built some of the most magnificent civilizations that they still have not topped yet. There are pyramid structures that have lasted longer than any building that has been built in the modern era. There are secrets about science, math, health that people still don't even understand.
I mean, all this came from us, man.
And it all came from us. We were cut off from the source, but now African Americans, Hispanics, people of color, we have the ability to travel. We have the ability to, we talked earlier about going to Colombia. If you can go to Colombia, you can go to South Africa. You can go to Egypt. It ain't nothing but a plane ride. The only difference is how long you got to sit on that plane. But you have to have the ability. And we are also, what's really important, we are in an information age and a technology age.
Right.
Nobody can hide anything from us anymore. If you can't read, you can watch. It's on YouTube. It's just about what you're putting in your algorithms, what you're searching. What are you putting in those search words? If you're looking for negative things, you're gonna get negative things. If you're looking for how to eat right, how to lift weights properly, how to diet, if you wanna learn about the stock market, if you wanna learn about investments, that stuff is free and it's on the internet. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody that's talking knows what they're talking about. You have to use your discernment, view a bunch of stuff, take notes, write it down, educate yourself. We don't need anybody to educate us anymore. We don't need anybody to pull us up by our bootstraps to help us. I don't think that we need that anymore. Doesn't mean that, people shouldn't help, especially if you've historically done wrong. But, there's nobody that can stop us at this point, because whatever you want to learn, you can learn. The libraries are free. You can go in the library, research a book. Who's stopping you? This isn't the 1940s where you would get hung if you read a book. We don't have these things anymore. So we need to the time for crying about it, I think, is over. But that doesn't mean that I don't think the tears are justified. And that doesn't mean that I don't think that you're entitled to go cry. I'm only saying cry while you're reading the book, cry while we pushing forward.
Cry while we pushing forward, like
That's
you're saying.
It. Right.
Big facts. Wow, okay. So knowing that we have everything that we have today, the technology, everything is basically at our fingertips. What is, not only is everything at our fingertips in today's time, the evilness, racism, and everything that's going on with Black and brown people are not as severe as it was back then. Well, maybe they found a different way to do it that's not directly affecting us. It's almost, I guess what I'm saying is we're slaves in a different way. But back then they were going through much worse. There's like you said, information coming out of stories being told of things happening in slavery that white people were too ashamed to admit. They only tell us the stuff that we can soak up a little bit, but there were also things that's that even I think they got to a point to where they had to deny it, And with that being said, why aren't we able to do what, move in power and in strength the way that our ancestors did when, in Malcolm X days or with Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, them brothers? We don't have, once again, I have my answers for the questions that I'm asking, but I just want your opinion. We don't have them brothers no more. And honestly, when we do have them, they get taken out, what I'm saying, which is probably part of the strategy. But why do you think we're not fighting back like our ancestors did in those times?
Well, once again, I don't think there's a simple answer to it, and I think there's levels to it. And I think that we've experienced, there have been several forms of slavery throughout history. I think what's distinct about the African slavery is that it wasn't just a physical slavery. They also cut us away from our culture, from our religion, from who the religious entities that we have, or our perception of who God is. They've also cut us away from resources. And I think that's what kind of started that from us originally arriving here. But then I think once we got here, then they took various steps. And you can look at how they used to use the Bible to brainwash slaves. But then you can look at it from a governmental standpoint, and then you can start breaching if we skip forward. And it's dangerous jumping around because all these things happen. But if you look at what each generation have had to deal with, from you got physical slavery and chains, then if you jump forward 50, 60 years, now we've got the Jim Crow era. Jump forward again, and now we've had the crack era that they dumped into black areas. And then we move forward another year. So like every generation has had to deal with something, and it's not all the same. Some was physical slavery, then it went to spiritual, then it went to working on destroying our body through various drugs. And we even seeing it now. Now we have, I don't know what population of people now that are smoking weed that's bringing down their testosterone level, that's poisoning their body, putting too much estrogen into males. We've got all these different warfares going on. Then there's the economic problem then there's the problem from them taking black men out of the household, denying them welfare and housing if there was a man in the house, breaking down that actual family structure that we had during the civil rights era. They realized, I think, some of the strength was the black family. So then they start breaking the black family down. And then we see that even to this day, it's still this man versus woman. Even now you see it changes, keeps changing. Now it's about, if you look at all of the laws with marriage, some black men don't want to get married because the women are taking half of their assets. So it's always this jostling, pushing, and pulling. I will say in the 2020s and up, I'm starting to see more classism than I am seeing racism. And it's more, so now they're separating rich from poor, and we're starting to see this wealth gap grow. And if we don't get back to buying land, to owning assets like we did in the 30s and 40s, I don't know if you've heard of the Black Wall Street, Tulsa. We had our whole town. We had our own banks. We had our own industries. And we've kind of, yes, they destroyed it. They bombed Tulsa. They tore down. They destroyed Black Wall Street. But we had the if you build it once, you can build it again. And the second time you build it is always going to be better than the first time, because each time you keep rebuilding, you are learning. You are getting better at it. So yes, somebody did something to us, they took it away, and it was tragic. A lot of life, a lot of people died. But it's time for us to rebuild. And it's nothing stopping us, but there's always been, they've been feeding that inherent distrust when they started doing dark skin versus light skin. The dark skinned men were in the field, light skinned people worked in the house. Like, this is all, those cycles just keep playing out over and over and over again. And it started the distrust between one black man and then another, but then you start combining the colorism with now capitalism, now with the rich and poor, then you combine it further with education. If one black man is college educated, he thinks that a black man that's not college educated is less than, and then we still are having all these entities. If you get a super religious person, they may talk, oh, well, you're not saved, so you over here, you over there. So we've got all of these different things, and it's not just a simple answer. Oh, this group is keeping us down. No, it's It's a lot of things going on, and we need to be building businesses. We need to be supporting our businesses. We, black folks in this country and minorities, we generate more money than the average GDP of a lot of other countries. And we waste it and we spending it and we have nothing to show for it. Like nobody's making us go spend our money somewhere else. Like they're not making you do that. You're choosing, I want to go eat downtown. I want to go to this restaurant. We have our own black restaurants. We have our own black martial arts schools, just to tie it back into what I do here. But there's people that go to other martial arts schools for whatever reason. But you have the ability to find these places. Yeah, you may have to drive a little further. Yeah, they may not be convenient, but like me here, the person that cuts my grass, children go to this school. The person that tints my windows, the electrician that does the lights here, their children go here. The person I bought my car from, their kids go here. So I support everybody that has a business that kids go here. I support everything that they do. So the money starts circulating. And then we're not having a conversation about how much my tuition is, because I pay your fee just like you pay my fee. And we keep circulating, and we're not having these conversations if we support each other. But that doesn't mean every black business is a good business and deserves your money. But if this business is not good, that doesn't mean you don't go to the next black business that is good. Just go find the next one and make sure that they're able to thrive and support them. And I think if we do that year after year after year, and we're cognizant about what we're doing with our money, we can start building our own institutions and stop having to keep mentioning the past and using that as a crutch. I think it's important that we are educated on what's happening. Because history repeats itself. So we need to have a knowledge and understanding of what's happened in the past, but we should use that as the building blocks to build for ourselves. And I think if we do that and just start with a small group, if you got 10 friends, all y'all back each other. Right. And slowly let 3 or 4 more people in that group 3 years once they've proven that they've been trustworthy. And then we build that way, because there's a lot of people that are in desperate situations that may not do the best with your trust. So we have to use some discernment on who we trust, but just build from your circle, even if it's from your family. Like there's no reason why we're not creating family banks. If everybody in our family put $50 into a pot, and we keep building that after 10 years, and it's invested in the S&P 500 or in ETFs or in various investment vehicles, and we're getting 10 to 12% yearly in it, then what happens when Johnny wants to go buy a car? He don't have to go to a bank. He can go to the family bank. Right. And we give them a loan, still interest, but with reasonable interest, 2%, because it still needs to keep growing. Or when we need to buy a house, then we take from the family bank. Nothing's really stopping us from doing that. There's several books on it. There's several books on simple things like life insurance policies. I've seen, brothers say, I can't afford life insurance, but I see them having a drink at a club. It's like, well, a $10,000 policy may only be $10 a month. That's the drink that you got in your hand. So we just got to make those sacrifices, man, and just make a cognizant effort. But I got faith that we can do it. And it's just, I just start with my circle, and we grow it out, man, and we just keep getting bigger, and we keep adding to all of the components, realizing that we need the economics, we need the spirituality, we need the education, we need real estate, we need understanding about health, about eating right, about finding the right doctors that understand how we need to be cared for. We have black doctors, we have black electricians, we have black scientists, we have black martial artists, we have black manufacturers, we have them, we just gotta rally around them. And man, I think that the pieces are there, we just gotta go out and look for it, as opposed to sitting in your house saying, hey, I can't find nobody that's gonna do this or do that. You know, people are out there, and with this information, just like you found me on the internet, why we can't, whatever that it is that you're looking for, if you take the time and do the 5 or 10 minute search that's needed, I think you can find it, you know.
Perfect.